Shannon. Now this is podcasting.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Work Hard. I am your host, Ethan. With me today is Jason.
That would be me.
Now, we're in a fight. An indomitable, timeless, eternal war that will never end. Actually, that's not true. It will end. And the war,
I would take beef with the eternal part.
The war is with how tired I am all the time. I'm so tired. And I just ate a nice, beautiful sandwich that my wife gave me. And I am at glucose levels up here, energy levels down here.
All the blood's in the intestines right now.
All the blood is in my intestines. None in my brain. And there's also, I'm going to be self-conscious about this. If we do get these videos working, I'm going to have to actually clean my office. Because this looks schizophrenic. This looks bad.
This, like the early episodes, just shows where we're coming from and where we will go one day.
Yeah.
And so you all are still in the early stages of Hyper Premium and Work Hard. So we appreciate you being along for the ride as we figure all this out.
Yep.
And you'll have the fun of going, yeah, I knew those guys back when, provided we get somewhere.
Yeah.
Air conditioning's still on.
Oh, no. Episode ruined.
Background noise.
All right, air conditioning off. But also there's construction workers outside of my office, so they probably can hear that. On the episodes we do record in here, you can always hear my rooster crowing.
Yes, I noticed that last episode.
Yeah.
Or a couple episodes ago. That was fun.
A little lore for you guys. Wow. I'm dead beat, dude. I'm dead beat. We got to dive into this. No intros today, dude.
You want to start with cushions then?
Yeah, dude, let's just rip it, dude. Let's go right into it.
Soft couch cushions.
Yes.
You know when you're on the sofa and you stick your hand down or you're doing spring cleaning, you know once a year when you clean your couch and you take the cushions off and you go, oh, here's a movie down here.
Underneath a pile of Cheetos.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you leave the Cheetos, but you take the movie and go, I should pop this in.
And watch it while I clean.
That's what this segment's about. It's about lost or forgotten media that we appreciate and we are bringing back to your attention. And perhaps bringing to your attention for the first time because you didn't even know. You bought the couch used, you frugal person, you. And then it came with a great movie.
Nasty.
It's unlikely that you'd buy a couch used and find a good movie in it, but that's the analogy we're going with. Well, why don't you lead us off, Ethan, with your recommendation?
We used to, before I give my recommendation, we used to do that all the time for tailgate. In college, we would get couches off like eBay and stuff.
Yeah.
And
like
not off eBay, obviously, but off of like Craigslist.
Like pianos. People give them away. You can't sell them.
Yeah. We'd get them for like $20, or we'd go to Goodwill and buy them for like $50. And then we'd throw them out on the tailgate on our lot. And we'd have our party. It'd be great. And then you set them on fire at the end of it.
Oh. Fun.
Not at the tailgate. You have to take them somewhere else because you'd get arrested for...
Burning in a parking lot?
Yeah, but...
that makes sense.
Yeah. But so
that sounds like the real party to me. Is
that was where
it
went from. You turned up from like normal fun college, haha, we're having a good time day drinking, to like, can I? Is there a way for me to get home tonight? Like that's you turn it from there to that.
Burning things that I remember we used to go hiking out in the some friends of mine when we were teenagers would backpack out on the logging roads in the mountains of Oregon, and we'd camp out overnight, and we'd bring our 22 rifles and we'd bring some empty bottles and some sort of lighter fluid or whatever, and fill the bottles up and put a sock in the top and suspend it from a tree, light the make a Molotov cocktail and then shoot it from afar.
It'd explode in fire.
Yeah,
that's sick.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
One time we shot it over we tried to be safe about it because we didn't want to start the next forest fire, and we never did. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We were safe adolescence. But we shot it over like there was some pooled water, some sort of, collected water, and we shot it over that, and the liquid was, burning off on the top of the water because it was floating.
Yep.
And so we're like, all right, well, that's enough of that. And my buddies went out there and like stomped it down underneath. And then we're like, okay, well, let's go on back to camp. And we started to walk away, and it resurfaced and kept burning. We're like, uh-oh. Now we got to stick around till we really know it's out.
Yeah.
It was completely out. I don't know. I'm sure somebody who has more science chemist knowledge would be able to tell me why it reignited after, when it was devoid of oxygen. It was completely submerged.
Yeah.
But it would pop back up and start burning again.
Huh. I don't
Must
know.
have been some part of it that was hot enough still to reignite the fuel when it came back up. It's what it must have been, but it was a little unnerving.
Yeah.
We might be in trouble here.
Yeah, me and my boys made a Molotov one time. We threw it against a wall, just like in his backyard. Just like made it. We're like, wouldn't this be cool? We threw it against the wall. It exploded, obviously, in huge amounts of fire. And then we were like, all right, cool, put it out. And so we like got the hose and like started spraying it, and it didn't. It doesn't go out. And so we were like, oh no, and like trying, and dude, it just left this huge, gigantic black soot mark on the back of his dad's like nice white sandstone wall. He was furious, dude. He was like, "What is this?" It was pretty funny.
It's a Molotov cocktail, Dad.
Yeah. Soot does not come off of easily, by the way. Off of like a very granular stone like that, you got to really scrub. You got to really scrub.
You get a pressure washer for that?
I wish.
That would have been nice.
That would have been nice.
Would have been luxurious.
We had rags and like brushes, hand brushes.
I think that's the way I would handle that.
Yep.
No, I have a pressure washer, but you're not using that.
Yeah.
You'll probably break that too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We learned a lesson.
I remember renting a pressure washer once and then bringing it back, and the little nozzles they give you. I happened to get a brand new one.
Yeah.
And the little nozzle, just from the kickback of all the little stones and stuff, it like ate up that plastic nozzle, and I brought it back to the rental agency. I'm like, hey, I'm really sorry about this little nozzle. It got, the plastic on it got eaten up and whatnot. And they're like, don't even worry about that. They're like, people take such terrible care of these things. The guy was like, I watched somebody once put it unsecured on the back of his flatbed truck, drive out of the parking lot, and the thing immediately fell off into the road and destroyed it. He's like, so you're fine.
Great. Yeah, that's awesome. That's sick. My recommendation is Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
Now, Blade Runner is very popular. I wouldn't be surprised if everybody knows what it is, but
no doubt, especially because of the remake.
Yeah, I'm cheating.
We're not talking about the remake, though.
Yeah, I'm not talking. I'm talking about the original with Harrison Ford.
Directed by Ridley Scott.
Yeah, apparently Harrison Ford sucks. I didn't know that, but he's not a great guy. But he sure makes some good movies every now and then.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones, sick. Star Wars, sick.
Han Solo, one of the
Blade Runner,
coolest
sick.
Characters.
He hates Han Solo. He hates Star Wars.
I know he does. He was glad when they killed Han.
Yeah.
Which was not cool.
Not cool
it's
at
like
all,
it's
dude.
kind of the character who gave you your career.
Yeah, you owe us. If you're an artist, dude, you have to approach it like that. Like you owe
the fans.
You owe the world something. You're paying a debt. That's how you have to approach it. And if you're not approaching it that way, then you're a queer. So yeah, Blade Runner, you guys probably know what it is, so I'll give you the quick premise. There's robots. Harrison Ford is shooting, and then some of the cars fly. That's the movie.
Sweet. Sounds good.
Yep.
Any
Next
warnings
up.
on it?
Any warnings? I think it's pretty appropriate. I'm sure they cuss a bunch.
I
But
thought I remembered. Wasn't one of the robot ladies not dressed too well? It's
in the second one, they have a like prostitute. One of the robots is a prostitute.
Of course. You mean a sex worker?
No, I mean a whore.
I mean a whore.
Yeah. So that's mine. There we go. Layup.
Okay. I'm gonna recommend a Tolkien. I guess they're called a novella. Is that the right term? A short novel?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a twofer. Usually it's sold as a twofer. I guess you can get them separately, but the copy my parents always had was a twofer. And I'm recommending one of the stories in particular. So Tolkien wrote Smith of Wootton Major, and it's usually paired with Farmer Giles of Ham. Farmer Giles of Ham is a comedic masterpiece. It's very funny. So it's set back in the days of like before the United Kingdom in England, when there's still dragons and giants about, and there's still hamlets and small kings, you know, in that rule over small portions of land relative to the whole of the United Kingdom. So Farmer Giles is he's a well-off farmer, and there's a dragon that comes to his part of town, and first there's a giant that stumbles in there, and Farmer Giles has a blunderbuss, and he goes out and kind of accidentally shoots just out of shock. He like fires the blunderbuss, and it shoots the giant in the nose and the eye, and so the giant's like and like wanders off, and so he's hailed as a hero then. And then so when a dragon shows up sometime later, they call upon Farmer Giles to go and fight the dragon, and they outfit him with like a really ghetto chain link armor and whatnot, and so he's just this like a crusty kind of knight. And they give him a sword that ends up being kind of a famous dragon fighting sword. So he's a reluctant hero. He's not really admirable for that, but that's what makes it so comedic. He's kind of pressed into this, and he's clever enough though to actually deal with the dragon. He's not fooled by the wiles of the dragon like a lot of people would be.
There we go.
His dog, a little minor character, his dog Garm can talk. The dogs can talk to some degree.
Excellent. Always good.
It's very comedically written. Anyway, shout out to Tolkien for writing more than just The Lord of the Rings. Even though he didn't need to make himself great. Yeah. So, get Farmer Giles of Ham. All right, moving right along. This is record time. We're at 12 minutes, and we're already hitting the main topic.
Good. Because today we're going after liberals. Today we're going after.
What else is new?
What else is new? I guess we are going after liberals to some extent.
Everyone's like, "What's this podcast about?"
Yeah. Guys, listen. We got to have a serious talk here. Okay, we got to have a moment where we all take a pause, take a beat, and we go, "What are we doing? What are we, as a people, as a group? What are we even thinking about, dude?" And that's because there's this like the overpopulation idea. Ooh, the world is going to run out of food, and we're going to run out of metal and places
be packed in like sardines.
It's everywhere. The entire planet's going to look like Brazil in 10 years. I guess just the favelas in Brazil, not Brazil itself, because apparently, most of Brazil's undeveloped.
Which is kind of the point.
Yeah, which is kind of the point.
We'd like to draw your attention to the rest of Brazil.
The
rest of most anywhere except India.
Well, don't get me started on India, dude.
That's why I threw that in there. It's like chum in the water. Let's see what Ethan does with this.
Chum in the water. Some stinky water over there.
Making my job harder, probably, bringing up India.
Yeah. You know that they had...
Now I'm going to have to edit things that Ethan says.
They had their most recent, all of us take a bath and poop ceremony festival.
Oh, I saw that the poo flinging. Well, there was a cow poop fight apparently.
There's a cow poop fight. Like
it's a
17 Brazilian people died of like dysentery.
Did they really?
Yeah, dude. Like a bunch of people walked out into the water and like took a bath in a literal toilet bowl, and
we wonder why they are dying.
Yeah, dude. Why
are all these people sick?
Yeah, 24 people died or something. I mean, some absurd number of people died from getting poop in their mouths, and
from a festival.
Yeah, because they're going to the festival is that they take a bath in this river, and it's a river in India. And if anybody knows anything about Indians, if there's any standing water anywhere close to, not even standing water, if there's any water anywhere close to an Indian, he has to poop in it. So it's immediately a river of poop. That's what it is. You can see in the videos, it's like disgusting brown, nasty, acrid. It's like oil floating in it, and they're like, it's just like good. And I did the head bob there on purpose. That's what they do. They go like this. They go, "Oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir."
We're trying the video again. We'll see if we can record the whole time. If not,
yeah. It's dying, so we can't. It's flashing. The battery's going to die.
Battery's dying. So
all right.
Most we're going to get is another reel out of it.
Yep, that was probably the one too. The anti-Indian reel.
Yeah, I'm going to make that into a reel. That's how I'll choose to promote this.
I bet that would probably get a lot of traction though.
Possibly, but as we discussed in the last episode, is that what we want our online engagement to primarily consist of? I think not.
What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, overpopulation in Indians. Well, so Indians are not a great example because there's like 1 billion of them.
Yeah, I was saying everywhere but that. So
right.
Really, this was a bit of a rabbit trail that I opened up on purpose.
Sorry, I know. We're doing a little bit. The overpopulation thing. Where should we start? Should we start with like I feel like just like a quick history to kind of give people a sense of what it even is we're talking about.
The history that people have always been kind of like the end times. People are constantly trying to predict the end times.
Yeah.
What do you know? Christ still hasn't come back a second time.
The first like prediction of overpopulation apparently happened in Babylon.
They've been at it a while.
Yeah. Somebody wrote a story about how the gods were mad because all the people were bad or something, and so they brought on a plague to reduce the population.
That's probably true.
But in the modern era, there's a guy named Thomas Malthus. It's where you get the word Malthusian. Thomas Malthus predicted very stupidly, like right after the conclusion of the agricultural revolution, that humanity would grow geometrically, I think is the word. So it's like exponentially, so doubling effect, it's like 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16,
right,
16 to 32.
Not at an even rate, in other words.
Right, and then food production grows in a linear direction, so just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so the human population would very quickly outgrow the
food production.
Yeah, the food production. Starvation. Right, and that was 200 years ago, and that obviously didn't happen. Recently, in the 70s, there was a guy called his last name starts with an E. I don't remember. It's like Elias or like Eli something Jewish. And obviously, and his article was called "Population Bomb" or something like that, and it was like his thing was that it wasn't that we were going to run out of food, because that obviously didn't happen, but it was that we were going to run out of usable material.
Okay,
we were going to run out of like
steel and whatever else.
Yeah.
Raw materials, wood. The trees won't grow fast enough for us to build houses with.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah, and so he had another guy, also Jew. Just by the way, shouts out. I'm not just blanket Jews. There are half and half. So there was another guy who was like, "That's not going to happen," and I'll bet you that it's not going to happen. You get to choose the time frame, and you get to choose the basket of materials, but you tell me which materials are going to rise in price so much that they can't really be used anymore because they're scarce now. Tell me the basket, tell me the time frame, and at the end of that time frame, one of us will pay the other the difference that those materials are from what they are now. So if they get more expensive, I'll owe you money, and if they drop in price, you'll owe me money. So they shook on it. They said it was 10 years. 10 years later, Elias, or whatever his name was, lost the bet. All of the materials had gotten cheaper. They had not gotten more scarce. They had gotten more plentiful. And the population had grown by like 1 billion people. So, whoopsies. They dropped that, and now the new one is the climate crisis and oil, CO2 in the air, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. There's too many people consuming.
All those dinosaurs.
Right, all the dinosaurs.
The liquefied dinosaurs.
Right, all the liquefied. Yeah. There were so many dinosaurs and so much organic matter that there's literally oceans of oil. Oceans of it. Of oil from the dinosaurs that died. They think that they've found. There's a scientist who's talking to Tucker Carlson who says that they're working on it right now. They're not 100% sure, but they think that they found more oil in the crust of the earth than there is water on the crust of the earth. So we have more oil than water now after using after all the oil we burned. There's still literal oceans of oil in the earth.
And we're getting more efficient at using it.
Yeah, and we're getting more efficient at using it and getting quicker to pull it out of the ground. So
most vehicles get more than 8 miles a gallon now.
Yeah, unfortunately. Because it was really cool when they only got 8. My truck is sick.
They could make it that cool again and also be more efficient. I'm just saying.
That's true. They don't have to make
They could stop
everything
making
gay.
cars look so terrible now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That is on
Have you
them.
seen the new VW bus?
No. Is it bad?
My point in it doesn't matter.
Okay.
The point is that they're making an iconic looking vehicle as opposed to every other generic.
Oh, yes.
That's
it's like,
my
it looks
point.
different. It
I'm
like
just
doesn't-
happy that anybody is making anything, including controversial. Here's a hot take. I'm glad they're making the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Because
Just 'cause
while
it
I
looks
don't
different.
have any interest in buying it, and I do think it looks kind of goofy, I'm happy there's something that doesn't look like every other truck.
Yeah.
Like mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Yeah.
Like I'm like, why didn't they bring back the Beetle a third time? Now they're bringing back the bus, I guess.
Well, I'm glad. Somebody's got to do something cool.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Here's the...
Collectors will want to collect something, and they sure don't want to collect Ford Focuses
They sure don't.
from the 2000s.
No, they don't. I certainly don't.
No, nobody's going to want that.
So the overpopulation thing is here's the main thesis, I think, of our kind of episode here, is that the overpopulation thing has nothing to do with whether or not the population is going to go overboard, which we don't think it will. But this is a tool, like many of the tools, like the China thing, China being like, oh, they're going to come get us. They're China. They're so crazy and scary. Ooh, China. The idea here with the overpopulation thing is that in order to stop overpopulation from happening, you, the American citizen, and only the American citizen, is going to have to accept a worse standard of living in order to address the population issue. Somehow, in some way, to stop the overpopulation issue, you are going to have to drive less, eat less food, live in a smaller place, have less kids, watch more TV, and hang out outside less, get less steak. In order to address the overpopulation issue, just you, the American and maybe the European, but they're already so mind fried and gone that I don't think anybody cares about them anymore. You, the American, are
Shout out Belgium.
Shout out Belgium. Hey, numbers going up in Belgium. What's up, Belgium? We see you, bro.
Yeah, unless you guys are just a bunch of Americans using...
Yes, we got a VPN, which would be weird to do that, but...
Yeah.
I mean,
so if you're actual Belgians, email us at workhard@hyperpremium.co.
yeah,
we're curious.
Yeah, if you are one of the 2% of our listeners that come from Belgium, hit us up.
Yeah. And if you're some guy with a VPN, also hit us up and just be like, nobody from Belgium's listening.
Yeah.
And we'll stop with the joke.
Yeah. Europeans are mind fried, and so I think it's, this thing is about, here's what it's about. It is about getting resources from you and conveniently allocating those resources to the people who run the Club of Rome and the people who run the Davos group and the IDF, and not the IDF, I guess also the IDF for sure, but also the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and the Payson family, and the Soroses, and the Carnegies, and what's the one?
Don't know.
The one family starts with the Rothschilds.
Oh, okay.
The what's the French guy? There's a French guy. He married his male teacher. That's 80 years old. He's pretending it's a woman. What is his name?
Oof.
He's the president of France. Macaroni.
Oh, yeah.
McAllister's.
Macron.
Whatever his name. Macron. Is that his name?
I think so.
Macron. Pierre. Jean-Claude Macron. Whatever, dude. Who gives a hoot about the French? These people, they want what you have, and they're willing to take a portion of what you have. Once they've taken it from you, they're willing to take like 10% of that and give it to brown people from the other part of the world and replace you with those brown people. And then they're going to keep the rest for themselves. That's what the overpopulation thing is all about. It's all about that. And it's on its face, the overpopulation thing doesn't make any sense on its face. And there's a quote here I want to read to you that's by a doctor I can't remember the name of, but it is, and this is about the overpopulation thing. On what principle is it that with nothing but improvement behind us, we are to expect nothing but deterioration before us? Now, I understand we're in a bit of a fourth turning. All right. Things are not going great right now.
It's a bit of a rocky road.
But that doesn't mean that the narrative, the central defining narrative of human existence moving forward, is going to be one of deterioration. Throughout our past, everything has been about progress. We've had dips, right? We had world wars. We had depressions in this country and in others. We've had dips, but generally speaking, the infant death rate has decreased almost to zero in developed countries. The poverty rate, I think absolute poverty has officially been eliminated on the planet. The average caloric intake in Africa has exceeded the daily recommended value of 2,000 calories a day. So most Africans have available to them more than 2,000 calories a day of food. We are only getting better at producing food. We are only getting more efficient in the use of our resources and in their production.
We're also figuring out how to not to make that food kind of poisonous.
Right.
That change is coming.
We have another planet in Mars that we're now close to getting people on and beginning the process of harvesting the resources from that planet. We will be mining asteroids probably before your great-grandchildren are dead. Abundance has been secured for us by the Lord. And maybe not abundance, but...
No, I'd say abundance.
But the Lord provides exactly what we need. And he has given us a fat, plentiful, bountiful earth.
I'd say it is abundant. We experience a lack of abundance when there is sin.
Yeah, due to human error, we experience scarcity.
The abundance is there when it is mismanaged,
which it
of course
always
we experience problems.
Right.
So I mean, when there's mass starvation somewhere, it's not because the globe is unable to produce. That God somehow gave us an earth that's not capable of producing enough food for everyone. It's due to some evil in the world where a leader has kept food from their country or made decisions.
There's a war.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
There are famines. There is the natural effects of sin where there's famines as well. But by and large, the planet that God gave us is capable of routinely producing more than we need.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And human ingenuity is the ingenuity that the Lord gave us is increasing the amount of resources that we're capable of producing all the time. Even if the population were to increase to the point that it's threatening the food supply as it remains today, we've had two major breakthroughs in food this last year. Not necessarily this last year, because hydroponics has been a thing for a minute, but genetically modifying food with CRISPR technology. And I know that's like, oh, whatever, GMO, dude, when you're talking about poor people and just needing to get them just so they don't starve to death, CRISPR genetically modified potatoes is way better than having nothing. So we are...
Baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps.
Obviously, ideally, it would be produced locally. That's kind of the problem is...
Right, yeah.
And when you're trying to ship something halfway across the world,
yeah,
fresh produce isn't going to do it.
And in the Western world...
It'll be processed or genetically modified.
In the Western world, locally produced food is getting more and more and more economically viable. And for the most part, it's not economically viable because of subsidies and whatever. We can get into all that at another time. We've
paying farmers to not grow things or to burn crops to keep prices stable.
Right.
I don't have statistics or whatever on that, so I mean, take it with a grain of salt or do some research on it. But that's something governments do is manipulate food prices.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And so,
which is nuts.
Can
you imagine being paid not to grow something so that the price of it doesn't go down too much?
Yeah,
it doesn't tank all the other...
Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so last year they figured out how to make it so that these potatoes grew like they can code plants now like they code computers. And so they can get the potatoes to grow 4 times as big as they grew before. And the plants can yield twice as many potatoes as they could before. So you have 8 times the amount of potatoes from one plant that you did in the past. Mm-hmm. And that's just one thing that we've done. I just watched a video this weekend of a woman who bought a dumpster in the middle of the city. And I don't remember which city it was. It was like Atlanta or something. I don't remember. But she bought a trash dump in the middle of the city. Unusable land. And she built, over the course of 5 years, her and her husband built a hydroponics facility that now produces $3 million a year in food. Huh. And it's a profitable business. They live off of that farm, the hydroponics farm, and it's built in an area that's like 3 acres. And they have these stacks, like towers of shipping containers, and they have all this cool like scaffolding in between all of them so they can get access to it all. Yeah. And inside of it, there's all these hydroponically grown plants, cilantro, microgreens, cabbage, all this cool stuff.
I've heard of them having that sort of thing off in like Alaska or something, so you can have a
year-round
garden,
right?
Or hydroponics or whatever. That's all, obviously that'd be expensive, but the point is that there's the technology available to get food out to places,
right?
Or to do some tiny form of terraforming.
Right. Yeah. And so there's these hydroponics. So this woman provides $3 million worth of food to the city of Atlanta or whatever city it was in. And she does it inside the city.
Right.
I don't mean like out, you got to drive out there. I mean, it's like, they live
within city blocks.
Yeah. They like walk from their condo to their farm.
Yeah.
And that's the future of American cities. Like, you think this woman's operation is big. Wait till Monsanto builds a literal skyscraper that's just a farm.
Yeah.
And it's producing $1 billion of food a year. Just one of the towers, And so you're getting vertical farmland and from place like we're not only are we making the food itself more efficient, we are making the land we grow it on more efficient. So the overpopulation issue is food-wise is completely untrue. And with the hydroponic stuff, it's all organic. You don't have to treat it with any pesticides because it's all in an enclosed, totally controlled environment. So you just feed it the minerals and through the water that it needs.
That is the downside of it. It's very high maintenance, is my understanding of hydroponics.
Right. Yeah. So before it was not before the last couple of years, it was not profitable.
Okay. Because it was so expensive.
It was so expensive, and the electricity cost so much money.
Okay.
So you couldn't run them efficiently. But these people they're doing it.
They've done it. Okay.
They're doing it.
And that's the thing. Well, so I think in our episode called Economic Redundancy, Part 1 and Part 2, we have 2 episodes where we talk about complex societies and technological advancements, and food systems in general. And so that's an important part that's an aspect for people like me who go, hydroponics isn't, you're not getting the proper nutrients into the food, or GMOs, you're not getting, it has a lot of underlying problems with the pesticides and this and that.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if you view this as a first step, it's a new technology and it'll be developed. And, as long as it's not messed with by higher powers or suppressed, or eventually it will become better and more efficient and higher in nutrients.
Yeah,
yes, and actually, so it's not going to give you Crohn's disease from eating it.
Right.
But like Ethan was pointing out, a lot better to have Crohn's disease than to die of starvation.
Right.
So it's a step up. It's not the final step, but it's a step up.
Yeah, and so the next point that I think I hear a lot is the actual land. The actual, like, how much land do we actually have? Now, we've talked about, and a lot of that is in fear of farming, but we talked about how efficient we're about to hit a second agricultural revolution. We're about to make farming 8 to 10 times more efficient than it is right now. And the other part is, where are people going to live? Well, that is an absurd thing, at least in the U.S., because only 6% of the land in the U.S. is used as residential space.
6% of the developable.
You're right, 6%.
So
right,
that's
6%
not even including like mountain ranges that people wouldn't be developing.
Right, exactly. So
and I would argue that even that in the future would be developable.
Yeah, to some extent. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So the
because that can also go vertical, and I think it would also go subterranean eventually. If we reach a point where really we're crowded that much, you could have some subterranean dwellings and whatnot as well.
That's a little dystopian, little mole people.
I'm living somewhat
That's
subterranean.
true. You are living somewhat subterranean. Yeah. So Jason and his mole people are going to be fine.
Eating our mushrooms in the dark.
Yeah. Losing your eyes.
Yeah, just sunlight. No.
No. Yeah. You think you've seen white people. Just wait till we go
Just
underground.
wait till my
Yeah.
great grandchildren emerge.
Yeah.
They're translucent.
Yeah. They have webbed toes.
Yeah.
So the there's so much land, bro. There's just so much land, and like I said, the farming is about to get way more efficient. So we're gonna need even less land to do more farming. It's gonna be so it's fine. The land thing is fine, and I think one of the really critical points here that this is more of a critique for like the right, for like right-leaning people. There's this big bugaboo about depopulation, right? Elon Musk is all about we're not at the replacement rate. We've cratered, right? So we're not replacing ourselves. Now, that fact is used as a bludgeon by people who hate you to bring more immigrants here. But if you just slow down and think for a second, all of the complaints about about overpopulation are actually moot, even if everything I said wasn't true, because the population of the earth is naturally going to decline from where it is here. And I don't mean through starvation or some sort of miserable thing. I mean, people are going to just choose to have less kids.
Well, they are.
They are choosing to have less kids.
That's been trending that way for decades.
Yeah.
Look at Japan's birth rate. It's even lower than ours.
Yeah.
But Europe and the United States are not even at replacement levels.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people tie that to human misery. Why would I bring a kid into this or whatever? They're depressed. So they're not going to have kids. They're not going to go out and find a mate, all that stuff. And maybe that's true. And it probably is, but
yeah, there's a lot of factors. So we won't get into that. That's the whole.
Yeah. The Lord built equilibrium. Common grace exists and all things trend towards equilibrium. I'm almost remiss to make this argument because of our stance here at On Work Hard, but if a woman can go out and make a salary, there's an opportunity cost to her having kids that stop her from having that salary.
Mm-hmm.
So we would argue it's a negative incentive, but I've said this a million times. Charlie Munger, show me the incentive. I'll show you the result. If women can go out and make a profit in a modern era where there's birth control and egalitarian rules and all this stuff where they can go work and make money, they're incentivized to go do that. Now, what we are seeing is that women are going through the hard lesson of finding out that money is not as incentivizing for human flourishing as having children are. In their perspective, they're quite depressed when they don't have kids. So there will be, again, all things trend towards equilibrium. But that's part of the reason for the decline is that people are choosing not to have as many kids. Now, also, I really do, I believe in Carl Jung's collective unconscious. I think everybody knows unconsciously the same thing that everyone else knows. So everybody knows unconsciously that technology is going it's going to increase in its speed here. It's not going to. We're not going to get less advanced moving forward. We're going to get more advanced at an increasing rate. As that rate increases, and as the specialty in labor and the efficiency of the human worker increases, the need for people decreases. The incentive to have children to support the population decreases. You just need less people.
As opposed to the farming families,
right?
Which would have as many as they can because the birth rate's bad, and they need as many hands as they can get. Infant death rate was high.
Yeah,
so you would lose children guaranteed, and you needed more to help the family economy.
Right.
When it was just all hand tilling,
right,
the land when tools were very rudimentary.
Yeah, and so so families will get smaller in order to equalize with the amount of labor needed to support the planet. And people will just do that naturally. And it won't be, I know that it's popular to be like, it's miserable. It's all, they're going to have smaller families. But I mean, really think about that. Just pause for a second, put the return to tradition stuff aside, put down whatever, Costin and Moore, Bronze Age pervert, whatever stupid Jewish name is, put down that book and just take a breath and think to yourself, how many kids do I actually want? If I want 7, good, have 7. You probably don't want 7 really. Like really, you don't want 7. You don't feel the incentive to have 7 kids. You probably want 3, which is very different from how people felt 100 years ago. They wanted 7 kids. It's not really reducing the amount of kids you have. What is the actual damage that does to you? Nothing. It doesn't actually have any sort of negative emotional effect on you. I mean, unless you want 7 kids and you find out you can't have them at some point or whatever.
Yeah.
But your what? What is the point I'm trying to make here? The point I'm trying to make is the point I've already made, that all things trend towards equilibrium. The reduction of the population naturally, it's occurring naturally, right? That's okay. That's fine. It's not good or bad. It just is happening. If there were some Malthusian methods to reduce the population, that would be bad, right? Malthus, he suggested that we move poor people into bogs and just make them live in swamps until they all die. That was like one of the things he thought we should do. And then he thought we should figure out how to reintroduce the Black Plague and make it illegal to treat it.
Wow. Okay.
And it just takes whoever it takes. Now those are bad, right? We shouldn't do that. That's human misery for no reason.
That's definitely bad.
Yeah. And policies that are to address the overpopulation issue or whatever, or the climate change issue, like making oil unnecessarily expensive through subsidy, and then turning farmland that's used to produce food and through subsidy, making it produce wind power, which isn't actually efficient. All that stuff is bad, but it's when humans interject themselves into the natural process, the natural ebb and flow of population growth. That's when it's bad. If you just take your hands off and just let it happen, that's when it has no moral right or wrong. It just is. It just is a thing that's occurring.
Interesting.
So the population issue just addresses itself if you just let it.
So you're thinking that's what the Western society is doing as a natural?
No, right now, I mean, I think that there's some part of that, yes. But come in. We're back. Sorry, contractors. Quick question with the contractors. Them boys out there working. What was I saying? What were we saying?
We're talking about Western society and whether or not it's a natural decline.
Yeah. So I mean, I think there's elements of it that are natural decline. I do think it's also part of it is
the elements that are natural being that there's just not a huge need for the extra hands. Is that what you're
right? There's not a huge need for the extra hands, but I do think that there is merit to the argument that you hear a lot. That's like a captive monkey it just starts jerking off and won't have won't produce offspring. I think that there's merit to that. People are miserable right now, but it's short lived. Okay, people really didn't start getting super miserable till like 15 years ago. Like,
okay.
You see all the time on the internet right now, people post like videos of like the Super Bowl from 2008, and they're like, "Look how cool this was. This was America. This is what they took from us." And it's like super right wing people being like, "This is what they took from us." And it's like, dude, that was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, you were alive. You remember that. I remember that. Like, it's not like this is a blip. This misery that we're experiencing is a blip. It's a downturn in Bitcoin's light, however you want to, whatever metaphor you want to use.
Okay.
So I think that I
think it's brought about by a bunch of ideas, though. The societal decline that's brought about, the gradual decline in family size is brought about by evil ideologies.
Yeah, I do think that is partially to blame. Yes, for sure. I don't think you can discount that at all. And especially because like the Club of Rome is one thing that when you start digging into this stuff, the Club of Rome is one of the things that you read about all the time. And it's like the Club of Rome is like a bunch of these elite families and their servants got together and made effectively a public facing Illuminati.
Okay.
And the Club of Rome's one of their big things is that we need to basically introduce massive amounts of population control and human misery in order to stop the destruction of the planet. But what their real motivation is just making themselves richer at your expense. And their excuse for doing so is that if you don't give me all of the money and all of the power, the world's going to melt down.
Yeah,
that's what they're saying basically.
Freaking out the masses.
Yeah, and that's their stated purpose. So you can't just like, I can't sit here and say that the most powerful people in the world intentionally trying to make everyone's lives more miserable so that their lives can be better and that they can ultimately transcend, their fleshy constraints and become computers. Like, they intentionally said that they're doing that. They're the most powerful people in the world. I believe them when they say that that's what they're doing. So that has to have an effect, really, on us.
Yeah.
So to say that human misery isn't being artificially increased, and one of the results of that is that the population is in decline, I think would be a retarded claim to make.
Yeah.
But that is kind of what I'm saying, is that the human misery is being artificially increased right now. And if we just let it go.
Gotcha. So if you took away the Club of Rome and other such influences, then the population would naturally bounce back to a growth,
a natural state, or maybe it would still be in decline, but it would be maybe a slower decline. But then also you have to think about how much.
I disagree that it would be in decline. I don't think that's honoring to God's mandate to.
Oh, yeah, okay.
To fill the earth and to
subdue it.
Yeah, you can't do that if we're decreasing.
Yeah, well, what if the decrease is just a momentary downtick? A natural momentary downtick.
I guess I'd have to know what you mean by natural, or an example, specific example.
Well, I mean, here's one thing that you might consider. That I don't know if this is true. I'm just floating this out there.
Okay.
What if the Club of Rome, being the Club of Rome, is a part of it's just a part of the market cycle of the population growth? It just is nature. Like Joe Rogan has this old argument where he used to say that like leftists are like, we destroy nature but to build these cities, and Joe Rogan goes, you are nature. The city is nature. Like it's all the same system. It's all the same thing. So what if the Club of Rome is just one of those parts of the market cycle?
I think that's just kind of taking God out of it and making it more of an evolutionary lens.
Too materialistic?
Okay. Too sterile of a look at it.
Okay.
I think the way I view children is that we are, parents, you are God's tools for bringing more souls into existence to worship and glorify Him.
Yeah, okay.
And if we're not doing that at we'll say a respectable rate, I'm not going to put a number on it.
Yeah,
say
sure,
anything less than 3 kids and you're sinning because you're only replacing yourselves.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to say that.
Yeah.
Because there are extenuating circumstances, and some tools are less effective than others in certain ways.
Okay.
Just because sin nature has made it so that some women have extremely hard pregnancies.
Yeah.
And they say, okay, after 1 or 2, this is becoming almost dangerous for me, and we're not going to start getting abortions, but we're going to avoid getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Unless God intervenes and
Or you have-
bypasses all of that or heals you in some way. So I'm not putting it on parents who don't have children or only have 1 or 2 that they're in some sort of sin. I'm just saying as a general whole, I think if we're not increasing and filling the earth and subduing it as God told
Then
us
we are
to,
as a
then we
race.
are as a race.
Falling
That is
short.
we're falling short. That is an outworking of sin in some way.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. I think that's a perfectly coherent, reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
And that's
good.
again, that's not putting certain numbers on it. God didn't put certain numbers on it.
Right.
Obviously, when I think in some part, God gave these tremendously long lifespans to the early patriarchs so that they could have dozens and dozens and dozens of children
Yeah.
to fill the earth originally.
Yeah.
And we don't have that anymore.
Right.
Sure, there's a lot more to be said by people who know a lot more about it than I do as to why the lifespan dropped from, 800 years down to 80.
I think scientifically, the one I've heard is that there's less oxygen in the air
Really?
because it didn't rain before the flood.
Hmm.
And so it was there was sometimes like the way that plants, and this is all
They said it didn't rain?
conjecture. Yeah, it didn't rain before the flood
Huh.
because apparently in the I don't know. Listen, we're bordering on flat Earth stuff here right now.
Okay. All right.
But
we'll ride this wave for a
yeah,
little
we'll
bit.
ride this wave for a second.
We're not saying this is true.
No, we're not. But I'm just saying I've heard this before. That it didn't rain before the flood, and so there was more oxygen in the air, and because there was more oxygen, people were like taller. They lived much longer. They had less inflammation in their bodies. They're less prone to disease. They were generally more intelligent, stronger, faster. They were just better in every way because there was more oxygen in the environment. Now I don't really know if that's true at all, but it does follow along the same one of the reasons why it's unlikely that dinosaurs existed in the way that they describe dinosaurs like in public school is because the earth would have had to have been so hot to support a dinosaur the size, a lizard,
Right, something that large.
yeah, a lizard
cold-blooded
the size,
creature.
yeah, that large that it's just like the sun would have had to be like at Venus's distance from the sun or something.
Okay.
Not really. That's hyperbolic, but it's like, the planet would have had to have been so hot
Okay.
that nothing else would have been able to live. Plants in their current, plants as we understand them would not have been capable of existing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, it's kind of like that to me. I don't know why, but that argument is just like, well, I don't know. The planet was just so different before the flood. It was totally, effectively, completely remade. I don't know. I'm completely.
Yeah, no, I think it was
just
it
totally
was-
rambling.
I do
at this
believe
point.
that it was very different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Obviously, if Adam and Eve had all the genetic material of the entire human race within them,
Yeah.
and that's disseminated now, and we each have smaller and smaller parts of it, maybe I'm just don't even know what I'm talking about as far as genetics.
I'm glad that you're saying this now because I feel like a real dumbass from what I just said. So I'll give you your turn to
Okay, yeah,
ramble
I'll join
pointlessly.
you. I just maybe more and more genetic anomalies with fewer and fewer genetics to pull from. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Who knows?
Who knows?
So write in. Tell us.
Whatever.
Tell us what's what.
Yeah, what we do know is that the overpopulation is not a real issue. That's what we do know, and that's
Yeah.
what this is
So
about.
don't worry about. Do not choose not to have children because you're afraid.
Oh, please, no. Yes.
Your takeaway should be: I should not only feel free, but feel encouraged to have as many children as God will give you,
Yeah.
because the planet can support them.
Yeah, the planet can't support them.
And if this planet alone can't, then other, technology God will give us the ability to find resources elsewhere.
Yeah.
If Christ doesn't come back before we're packed in like sardines here, we'll be spread out to other planets.
Yeah, we'll be on Mars. They'll be like
We'll be terraforming giant areas.
what was
We'll
the
have, it'll be like Biodome.
Yeah. What's the movie with Brad Pitt where he goes to space to find his dad?
I have no idea.
there's a
Brad
movie.
Pitt?
Yeah, it's recent. It's like in the last few years, like the last 5 or 6 years.
See, I thought you were gonna talk about Matt Damon and his poo potatoes on Mars.
Oh no. No, I'm talking about what was that movie called? It doesn't matter. He goes to space to find his dad. His dad's like in an anomaly or whatever, and then he gets there and his dad's like mean to him and sends him back home. It's something. It's really gay.
That's terrible.
But there's a spot. He goes to the moon to like get on a spaceship to go to Mars or something like that, and there's like.
It's like a space station.
Well, it's not just a space. They've like hollowed the moon out almost.
Oh, okay.
And so it's just a mall. Like he goes down in there and it's like there's just like McDonald's and it's just a mall. It's just a big mall. And that's what the moon will be like in a year and a half if Elon Musk has his way.
Ad Astra.
Ad Astra. Yeah, baby.
2019
That's it.
Brad Pitt.
Yep. What's the premise of that movie?
In the film, Brad Pitt plays Roy McBride, an astronaut who embarks on a dangerous mission across the solar system to uncover the truth about his missing father, played by Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes.
And a mysterious threat that could destroy life on Earth.
Yeah, it's like shooting waves of radiation or something.
Okay.
And he has to go there and like turn it off.
The film explores themes of isolation, family, and the search for meaning.
It's a bad movie. I remember it just being bad. I don't remember really anything else about it.
That's pretty bad if you can't remember much else about it.
Yeah, its message was...
It's too bad.
Gay.
Tommy Lee Jones and Brad Pitt making a bad movie. That's
yeah,
sad.
I know. Well, you can't win them all.
No.
Can't win them all.
And an original... Well, I don't know if that's original, but...
I don't know. Every time I see a movie these days, I'm like, wow, this is cool and new. I look up the movie and it's like the one from 1972 or the one they just made. And I'm like, okay, well, great.
And they didn't remake it better.
Yeah, they didn't remake it better. It's worse.
We have more CGI. Isn't that good?
Yeah, dude. Ugh. Bro, I just watched the movie. Oh, I watched the most recent, not the most recent Jason Bourne, but I watched the one without Matt Damon in it.
Oh, no idea.
They have him on
Matt Damon is the only Bourne for me.
Yeah, well, he's not Jason Bourne in that movie. He's like another guy.
Still.
They have him like on the side of a mountain, and he's like he's there really, like
really?
In several of the scenes he's there, but then for whatever reason they just put him standing on the side of the mountain, just complete CGI. He's just standing there. The mountain's totally fake. It just, I don't know, dude. My brain cells are shutting down. We have a whole day of work ahead of us too.
Oh no!
Oh no! I have so much more thinking to do. So yeah, guys, listen. This one's getting a little off the rails, so we'll wrap it up.
I think we covered all the important stuff. There's been predictions. Yeah, so wrap up. There's been many predictions of the population overtaking the ability to grow food, and it's simply not true.
Yeah.
It hasn't come true, and it's not going to come true. The earth is going to be destroyed by fire, not by starvation.
Yes.
And it's going to be when Christ decides to come back, when God decides to end that, not when the earth that he gave us suddenly stops supporting us.
Yeah, and I think the thing that is the most important here, and this is one of the reasons why I started doing this, and one of the reasons why I love like Miyazaki films, and I hate the pessimism of the age. I hate it. And it comes from everyone. Everyone is so pessimistic. Even the most beautiful Christian champion is so pessimistic about the prospects of the future because right now is negative. And we've had multiple episodes on this about how bright the future is. So let this be another addition to the bright, bright future that we believe is on the horizon here. It is not time to not have kids. It is not time to not try. Now is the time to try. Now is the time to go as hard as you can manage going, having as many kids as you believe God is calling you to have.
Amen.
Now is the time. You are actually in a better position than someone who is born into abundance, because they are born into abundance, and by the time that they are in their most productive years, it is likely that that abundance is beginning to wane, and things are going to get harder for them, not easier. Things are going to get easier for you, not harder. From this point forward, I believe. I was just thinking about how I used to make these predictions that we wouldn't have a third world war, we would have a global economic catastrophe that was just as bad as a world war. Mm-hmm. It occurred to me the other night that it may have happened. I do know that there were people that starved to death in at least in the hundreds of thousands in third world countries because of COVID. I think those numbers are the millions. We won't ever know the actual death rate caused by the vaccines, by the COVID vaccines. We live in a bloodthirsty, murderous regime that is responsible for millions of deaths of unborn children every year. Things are, and again, this is like my other theory, that unless, like, even in the middle of a war, unless the war is happening in your village, you really don't
know what's going on outside.
You don't really know necessarily what's happening. And there's like a video, I think it's World War II. It might be like the Spanish Revolution. I don't know. But it's an old video. It's like the first video ever taken, like very old. And it's of, I think, a German warship bombarding like a French port or something. And the German warship is sitting there firing explosives, and it's blowing up this port, like in the city, like in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
And the camera pans over like 2 blocks, and people are just buying baguettes, going about their day, like they're just living their life, because life can't stop. And so
is that thunder?
Yeah, something like, yeah. So I think it's very likely that we already lived through the thing that I thought was going to happen in 5 years, and that the next 5 to 10 years are going to be a slow increase in productivity and in efficiency and in total, growth. And I don't mean fake growth. I mean real growth. Not GDP. I mean actual, in your life, you're going to make more money and things are going to be easier. I think that's what's going to happen.
May it be so.
Maybe. I hope I'm right about that. But anyways, guys, that's it for us. We brought it back around there at the end.
Yeah. No, to wrap up.
Yeah. Guys, we love you. Please, 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 please find a young woman, marry her. Have children. Take them to church. Teach them to love the Lord. We're praying for you.
We love you. And like we've said before, we'd appreciate it if you subscribe if you haven't already.
Yep.
If you get something out of Work Hard, please share it with somebody else.
Yeah, let me make the pitch here, because this isn't just about, me being able to not have a job, or Jason, being able to pursue something. We have a mission of rebuilding, being a part of rebuilding the American entertainment system. And if Jason and I are successful here and have our way, we hope and believe that the art that will be produced by Hyper Premium will be well worth your time and enjoyment, and will be redeeming and help the cultural revitalization of our country and of the people that live here. So when you listen to this, when you watch the clips on Instagram, when you throw us a like or anything like that, you are, we hope, participating in some small way in the reconstruction of Christendom. That's what we hope is happening. It's time to build.
That is our prayer for Hyper Premium, and we ask you to pray with us that we will be honoring to God in our mission here.
Yeah. So guys, we do love you. We're praying for you. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.